Hi, welcome back everybody. I'm still reading this book, The Assault on Truth by Jeffrey Masson. It's hard going. It's like over 100 years ago of one man literally changing the psychoanalysis history of the sexual abuse of children. It was a seduction theory, and then suddenly it all became where the child was all making it all up. So I'm still reading it. Hopefully we'll do another podcast on that, but today I want to talk about when contact becomes a risk. This has a content warning: domestic abuse, child death, family courts, long-term separation from a child. So if you cannot listen to anything like that today, I would not listen to me. I want to talk about something that sits at the intersection of love, law, and loss. It is about children, it is about parents, and it is about what happens when systems designed to protect families fail to recognise risk. This episode begins with a story that is almost impossible to hear. But it is not an isolated story, and that is the problem. Rachel and Uriah. Rachel is a mother whose daughter Uriah died after contact with her father. According to Rachel's account, she had separated from Uriah's father, and her daughter continued to have contact with him. On a Father's Day weekend, Rachel dropped Uriah off, expecting her to return home. Later that day, she saw her daughter briefly on a video call. She was playing, laughing, using a bubble gun. She was expected home that afternoon, but Uriah never came back. Rachel was later told that Uriah and her father had died in a head-on collision. According to the published account, investigation later concluded the crash was deliberate and planned in advance. And the report said that they thought that the child was dead before the crash because the father wouldn't have wanted the child to survive the crash and him die. That was the whole point of this murder, suicide. There were no words that properly hold that reality. And I want to be very clear. Uriah is not a symbol. She is not a statistic. She was a child. Where my story is different, I want to speak personally here because I am not outside of this subject. I am a mother who has also experienced long-term separation from my child, but there is a crucial difference. My daughter is alive. I have not seen her since she was 6 years old, give or take one or two instances. But as of today, not for many years, no contact for many, many years. And today she is 22 years old. It's a different kind of grief. It's not the grief of death. It's the grief of absence without ending. There is no funeral, no closure. No final moment to mark. Instead, there is time, years and years of time. And a child who continues to exist somewhere in the world, growing up without you. You remember their voice, their personality, their early life, and you live with unanswered questions. Where are they now? Do they remember you? Do they think of you? This grief without finality. And I think we need language for that because it is real. It would be easy to treat Rachel's case as an isolated tragedy, but that would be misleading because there is a wider pattern that has been documented repeatedly. Women's Aid have published research identifying child deaths in circumstances involving domestic abuse and child contact arrangements. Their reports include 19 child homicides in one review period, followed by a further 19 in a later review. These are not abstract numbers, they are children. And behind each one is a family who believed they were sending their child somewhere safe. We also need to understand the scale of what we are talking about. Tens and thousands of private law Children Act cases are initiated every year in England and Wales. There's 55,000 last year alone. These cases involve child arrangements, contact disputes and parental separation decisions. This does not mean all involve abuse. It does not mean they are all unsafe. But it does mean a very large number of children are moving through a system where risk must be assessed carefully, consistently and competently. And when systems operate at this scale, small errors in judgment can have very large consequences. So the question is not, should children have contact with both parents? The question is, what happens when contact itself becomes a risk factor? And how do we ensure that risk is properly identified before harm occurs? Because once a child is harmed, the system cannot undo that decision. It can only review it. Children do not experience legal systems. They experience people. They experience safety or fear, consistency or unpredictability, being heard or being dismissed, being believed or being explained away. Children communicate in many ways, not always through words, sometimes through behaviour, sometimes through resistance, sometimes through silence. The question is whether adults are willing to listen. I'm not suggesting that family courts are unnecessary. I'm not suggesting that all allegations are true. I am not suggesting that one parent is always right and the other is always wrong, but I am suggesting this. When there are credible indicators of domestic abuse or coercive control, risk must be taken seriously and assessed with expertise. That requires better training, consistent application of Practice Direction 12J, proper scrutiny of risk before contact is ordered, and a willingness to prioritise safety over assumptions of entitlement. Because contact is not a right that exists independently or safely. I want to end with something personal but careful. My daughter is alive, that matters, but I have lived for years without her. And I think there is a form of grief that is not widely recognised. It is the grief of ongoing absence, of love that has nowhere to go, of time passing without resolution. And I think we need to be able to hold that truth alongside other truths, because not all loss is the same, but all loss matters. Rachel's story forces us to confront